Get a notification. Yeah, there we go. Awesome. I'm just gonna double check as well on my tutorial. Uh, uh, Yeah, awesome. There we go. All right. Hey everyone, welcome back to Stacking Sats. It's been a while since we've seen you guys. I think the last one that we did was somewhere between August, November, or December of last year. I think a pretty busy time after that with the launch of pSTAKE, the institutional product launch. I think Babylon also growing quite heavily with the TVL, with the partnerships that they've been doing. We thought this is the best time to bring this back and start of the new year with someone that's kind of pioneering or at the forefront of scaling Bitcoin, which is LayerEdge, that is joining us today for Stacking Sats. Like always, we'll keep it a very chill hour. Talk about what's been happening in the industry, talk happening in the Bitcoin space, and also get to know what LayerEdge is and how they are putting BTCfi ahead. So, hey Ayush, firstly, welcome to the stream.
Thank you, Aditya.
How are you doing today?
Doing last day was like I was just talking like before that it's pretty hectic because today at 5 a.m. we just launched our incentivized testnet campaign, and like as I'm leading the dev and everything there, so a lot of things are happening. So if you see it's been I think close to 36 hours I have not slept.
Oh
That's
wow.
like pretty fun.
Well, okay. We'll go easy on you. Yeah, we'll just take it easy. Yeah. How is it going?
So the
Like good?
response we are getting is like pretty good. So like in the initial 7-8 hours, like we got close to 35,000 uh, people who are running the light nodes and like using interacting with our dashboard, because we had like a little different view on how we should run the campaign. So campaign basically has like two parts. Like one was the standard vanilla light node campaign that everyone has, that you can go to the noders or any of the node platform, you can run nodes from there. That will actually go live in like first like early Feb. But the fun thing that we created was a complete new dashboard where you can come on our dashboard for just for 7 to 8 days. For a month you can actually run the light nodes for free. And not only that, we have a lot of quests you can interact with, and you can actually learn about what we are doing, because we faced like a two-pronged problem. Like we are creating the backbone for the like Bitcoin backed internet, but it's difficult for like everyday users to get them actually involved and get them excited. So what we are going towards is like make sure that everyone is educated about like what we are doing, what we are building, and they can feel to be a part of this whole revolution. So that will motivate them to like learn more about like what we are trying to build.
For sure.
That's pretty amazing, man. Congrats on that, and hope you get some sleep after this, but only after an hour of talking to us.
Yeah. Sure.
Awesome. Bud, how's it going for you?
Yeah, all good. It's also been busy. I mean, we've been doing quite a lot as well, and we had a bit of a break during Christmas, which was nice. But then came back and full on in the action again. So for those who don't know, like with pSTAKE, we've been working hard on sort of the BTCfi space, and together with Babylon, where we enabled sort of staking into Babylon. And then the original idea was to just have an LST for this, but then we kind of made a change where we're focusing essentially for our retail users or main users. Like we created more like an earn product where they can stake into Babylon and then earn some rewards on top of that. And we created a new utility for the pSTAKE token as well. So we have that all going. A very straightforward product, but seems to land well. People seem to like it. And sort of the LSD side, we're actually focusing more on institutions now. So we created two separate streams. So where we focus for larger holders, where we create a Bitcoin LSD on top of Babylon, and then allow essentially certain integrations, which is very tailored for these institutions where they want to go with their LSD. We can create this integration so that they can get extra yield. So we made that decision to separate these two products, and I think so far it's a good decision. So I mean, but overall, I would say that our goal is to create simple products, nothing too complicated, but that work and that are secure. That's sort of the bottom line. And of course, we focus around Bitcoin. So yeah, that's sort of the latest update. And there's a lot of stuff going to happen in the next few weeks. A lot of things coming out, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, awesome. Like I personally feel the same. I think Bitcoin ecosystem BTCfi. I think it's not a strong narrative right now, which is amazing because it doesn't take time for narratives to switch. Right, like it happens overnight. So we have a lot of stuff happening on the Babylon side. Solve, which is another LST on Babylon, went with this TG on Binance. I think a lot of these chains and projects as they launch, mainnet as well as tokens. I think we see a full-fledged BTCfi season.
Yeah.
Awesome. I used to get to know a bit more from you personally, talking about your not just journey in crypto, but your first interaction with Bitcoin, whether that be BTC itself or the ecosystem from a dev perspective, from an investment perspective, whatever that be. I'm sure the audience would love to know your Bitcoin journey and not just crypto side of
Yeah.
things.
So like my Bitcoin journey and my crypto journey like go hand in hand, because like first time I actually interacted with it was 2016, and I was in college. Like, I was at ITBHU, and we had to like break order something that was from Germany. And in India, like at that time I didn't have a lot of like a international like experience with international payment, the Swift payments. And a lot of the sites were actually allowing us to buy with the help of BTC. At that time, I was not that much into the Bitcoin. I just know like this is the cryptocurrency through which you can do international payments. And that was the first time I decided to, okay, let's try with this new payment method. I know the shipment will get delivered. The only arbitrage is like the price arbitrage. At that time, like Bitcoin was like really cheap. It was fluctuating, but I really like missed the chance of like buying good amount of BTC then, because the rates were like quite good. And like then that was my first journey. And then I was pretty interested about like how we can run mining nodes. But then my career moved towards like some traditional like decentralized computing, because I joined like Samsung Research Institute's data intelligence lab, where we developed like authentication system for like all the Samsung accounts. And I was there, and that was the time I again like whole crypto came to like me, because a lot of my friends were involved in multiple different projects. They were running them, so I got intrigued again. And that time I decided to like go all in. So I joined like Gnosis. I was a tech lead there. I worked on several different like projects from the development perspective, but my specialty was majorly on like scaling and security. So when I saw like the whole scalability movement on the Bitcoin side, I found that like most of the chains that claim to be a Bitcoin L2 do not leverage any security from Bitcoin. And the second thing, that the Bitcoin has a very limited storage space and very limited computation space, so it was really difficult to scale. So that was a time like I decided, okay, I can create a layer 2 and try to solve this problem by creating like one of the fantastic layer 2s. But when I was developing that, the core problem that we are solving is how we can leverage Bitcoin security and give it to our layer 2. At that time, like we were reached out by many of our partner chains. They were they were actually Bitcoin L2s. They were in the same space, and they were very interested with what we were building. And that's when we pivoted completely towards creating a security layer. And we are currently like a ZK verification layer on Bitcoin. So if you have any kind of ZK proofs or any kind of ZK chain, we can help you get secured on the Bitcoin. So what we believe the future is like is there will be a lot of off-chain computations, but we have on-chain verifications. So you get the security of the Bitcoin, but you can have the scalability and you can scale as much as you can, because with the help of co-processors and multiple different ways, the scalability factors actually reduce a lot. And as everything eventually like within 10 minutes gets settled on the main Bitcoin chain, so you're not that much compromising on the security aspect. So if you want to know like the one of the chains that actually are doing similar work, the Citra is also like, I have to give credit to them. They are doing a similar thing. They are also creating a true roll up on Bitcoin, where they're secured on the main Bitcoin chain, and all the transactions that are bridging in and out are also secured on like the Bitcoin using the BitVM. And we want to just democratize the technology so that any chain can become as secure as Ethereum.
It's amazing, man. I think the space is just getting started, right? We see
Yeah.
a lot of work being done on BitVM for a long time. There is the BitVM collective with people like BitLayer, Citria. I think Element Labs is one of them. Strata, which was recently announced by Alpine Labs. So, and we also see capital, at least smart capital, flowing there. So it's just about time that once these products launches and it's there is use case and usage, rather proof of usage there. It's evident that this is going to be something that flourishes.
And like
And
it's matter of like like when, not if. Because if you see like on the Bitcoin, we have the largest amount of liquidity, we have the most OG, and it's the chain that's most trusted. Like even my parents, they do not believe in any of the cryptocurrencies, but they're very confident on Bitcoin because it has a legacy, and it has a lot of like brand recognition compared to any other chain.
yep, absolutely. Like it is synonymous, right? It is the original crypto. It is the original cryptocurrency, whatever you call it. And there is a big argument. Maybe we can get in that later on. If Bitcoin is able to kind of give these opportunities like the alt L1s or the original L1, which is Ethereum, has been kind of giving. Does it make sense for all these other chains to exist, or does Bitcoin just make Ethereum obsolete? We can probably get into that later on as well.
Yeah.
Uh, Before coming or diving deeper into the Bitcoin side of things, I think we can touch upon the latest that's happening in crypto and how you are looking at things. We obviously have a pro crypto president sitting in one of the biggest nations in the world. That's also changed a lot of things, not just for that side of the world, but also regulation wise for a lot of other countries. Right. So, how are you seeing the landscape that we're in today's world in crypto?
So right now, if you see like the whole landscape is uh, it was a question for me, right?
Yeah, it's for everyone. Like, this is not just an interview thing. Like, anyone can just feel free to chime in their thoughts.
Yeah, sure. So like I'm like really bullish on like the current dispensation because they are like really pro crypto. And what I have believed, and you can like listen in multiple of my past spaces, is like it's a brand new technology. It's more like an internet revolution that's happening with a financial aspect. So you do not need over regulation to like crush the innovation. What you actually require is a light-handed approach just to make sure like all the bad actors are punished. And my definition of bad actor is like if anyone knowingly is misleading and making sure that other guys are losing some money, that's a bad actor. Except that if anyone is doing new experimentations or new ways of doing things, everything should be promoted because that's only will actually know what works, and that's the way like we'll develop like the whole new financial ecosystem that's been built in the whole crypto space. And as a dispensation is like relatively in a positive light, so we can get a lot of like support and regulations as such that the industry can actually grow. Because like if the regulations in US were pretty hard, then the industry would have moved outside US, but now the regulations would be pretty good. So it's a good chance that we can have like Silicon Valley 2.0 in US only.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
I
good
think it's
point.
also that regulations are actually being made now, right? That they're thinking about it before it was all sort of pushed down the line, and I think that the industry, the serious people in the industry, they actually want to understand what are the regulations and that it's actually sort of clear, and then they can work within that framework. And obviously, if now we have a positive minded government in the US, that's only going to help, right? So that these regulations are actually sort of more kind of enabling us rather than working against us, which is great. So I just hope he doesn't launch any more meme coins. Like he shouldn't do that. That's not helping, I guess. But, it's more of a personality thing than anything else. Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's mixed feelings there on that meme coin.
yeah. Yeah.
Let's not on that topic. I think, yeah. Uh,
That was like
Awesome.
true, like it was a fun social experiment. Like I looked at it as more like a social experiment.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it just goes on to say that a lot of cryptos use case lies there, right? In terms of whether it being speculation or just having fun. I think
Yeah.
more
Having
than
fun. I
anything.
think that's the major one. Like everybody, was just like looking at this roller coaster and sort of experiencing it, and that was kind of it, right? But obviously that shouldn't be the core of it. I think working on actual elements that will help, or that we can create services which are like finance oriented, or even like broader, like blockchain based. Like I think that is obviously what we're really doing it for, right? So you know,
Yeah.
but sometimes we can have fun while doing it.
Yep. Exactly. Awesome. And I'm not sure if you guys have been following. There's also been a lot of drama around ETH and Ethereum on crypto Twitter. Almost something of a rebellion, by a lot of people against the Ethereum Foundation, calling out for what they should be doing, should not be doing. Not touching on the thoughts there, but do you guys think that BTC is maybe undervalued compared to ETH because of what we mentioned, right? That BTC has all these things going out for it. It's the institutional asset now. It is the store of value. It is the hedge against the world. But in a very DeFi sense, a lot of these applications like pSTAKE, like LayerEdge, like Babylon, are building on top of Bitcoin to offer what Ethereum offers, not what ETH offers. Do you see that as a threat to Ethereum in the longer run?
I personally believe like Bitcoin ecosystem is actually going to be way bigger than the ETH ecosystem, and my reasons are like one of the main thing that I believe this is on if you go on the Ethereum side, they have really good smart contracts, but they have a lot of things really good done for them. Like they support their projects really well, but they have reached like a stagnation where they have done a lot of things and that brought them result. Whereas on the Bitcoin side, like on Ethereum side, you won't find something that's really cutting edge that's going to like change the whole paradigm. Whereas on the Bitcoin side, everyone looks at it as just as a transaction layer. But as we are in the needs of it, we are seeing how the whole Bitcoin ecosystem is getting built, how there are pseudo smart contracts which are bringing the trustlessness on the Bitcoin side. A smart contract wave is actually starting being built because these pseudo smart contracts are not that user friendly. So a lot of guys are building complete like full fledged Turing complete smart contracts that would lie on top of these pseudo smart contracts. So a lot of projects are being built here. A lot of new innovation is happening here. It's just the common folks are not that aware of it. So once they are aware of it, once they see these things in action, once they feel the DeFi, then the upside of the Bitcoin is like far surpassing than any other thing, because Bitcoin was like, say before 2020 it was just a transaction layer, like people don't use to do
Mhm.
anything. Then we had like runes, we had BRC20s, but right now with the whole smart contract and the just minimized verification like with one of n, we are like just like tapping towards the smart contracts, and once that we hit that, then we have the whole explosion, the DeFi space and the whole Bitcoin ecosystem space.
Right.
That's a great point you touched upon. But to also counter that in some extent, do you think that for a common user, it really matters where the smart contract is? Like, for example, in the context of, let's say, someone that's trading memes on Solana, right? Maybe they are either interacting with an application like Robinhood or Moonshot, which is basically on their mobile phone. They see something fun, they see the number go up, they just click on it, they're happy. They don't really need to understand what's happening in the background. Obviously, from a DeFi perspective, it's very, very important what's happening in the background, which is why a lot of debate goes around ETH scaling, Solana congestion, and all these things. But for a common user, do you think that it'll become important?
So, like I divide users into two categories. One are like the speculative users, which are here for some fun, and there are some serious users. So, for speculative users, what they actually require is just basic transactions, which Bitcoin currently provides. Every chain provides. They want to buy something, hold it for a very short period, and sell, and that's what they are doing. So, for them, the difference is not that big. But where it actually creates a big difference is the guys who are little serious and who are little for the long term. So if you're holding a token for the long term, then you're incentivized to stake it, to earn yields on it, to do multiple DeFi activities. And in the long term, if you see, someone is going to hold the tokens. It's not that 24/7 for years down the line you're doing speculation, because speculation has a like short run. So if you want to develop a like a long term like a strategy, in that scenario you need to have a complete DeFi ecosystem, so that the users are incentivized to hold a token, to actually stake it, and to earn yield from it and do multiple different things, not just buying and selling.
I think actually on that point, like the whole evolution that's happening with BTC and BTCfi, I think, is great in the sense that I'm not sure if it's sort of going to take away everything from Ethereum down the line, but you are engaging like a whole group of people that were holding Bitcoin and weren't really doing anything with them, and all of a sudden you're creating these use cases where their assets, because there are quite a few people that just hold Bitcoin, right, and that were not so much interested in other tokens per se. So I think that kind of that you kind of engage these people to actually do something with their Bitcoin and give them like an avenue to use it. I think that's great. But for Ethereum, I mean, I'm not saying I'm bullish on it, but I do think that they will figure it out. Like maybe sometimes you need a little bit of pressure for them to then sort of start thinking about sort of what they can do next. But they have a massive ecosystem as well, right? There's so many people that that have worked on Ethereum, and I don't think it's going to go away that quickly. But I'm seeing them like live next to each other, and both have their own sort of space.
So like I
But
just
yeah,
want to ask
we'll
a
see.
question because I was discussing it with like several VCs. Like this is something common. What they think is what they see is the retail will be there on the Ethereum side of things, but the institutional players and the or the institutions, because of how the regulations are being written and how like all the institutional capital is way more bullish on Bitcoin compared to Ethereum, is the DeFi will be heavily used by the institutions. So do you believe this is how the Bitcoin ecosystem is going to expand?
That could be. I mean, this is also sort of our experience so far, right? So this is also one of the reasons why we created like a product specifically for institutions, because we felt like, okay, there is like this need there, where you can create like custom products for institutions because they do have this capital, and they want to participate, but under their conditions. So they it's different, but it's definitely something that we've realized as well. I wouldn't say that they're not that there's no institutions on the ETH side. I'm sure there are as well, but there's definitely, from what we've seen, like a higher percentage of institutional capital on the Bitcoin side for now. So yeah, that is true.
Yeah. I think we can. There's a lot of people drawing parallel to the Cosmos ecosystem, right, for Ethereum right now, and a lot of people are bearish ETH because of that. I think I'm on the flip side. Like the fact that there is someone in charge. When people are not agreeing with him is a different story, but there is someone in charge with Vitalik, and trying to push things ahead, even though it might be in his context, which might be scaling or not focusing on some of the other ecosystem side of things, possibly. But there is at least someone there, right? So I think that's because if you see, people like to take an example of Solana as the perfect ecosystem in crypto, because I think they keep things simple, right? They focus on product, they support their ecosystem very very heavily, and that's pretty much it. And that parallel can also be drawn to, I think, Bitcoin, because regardless of there not being any leader, I think the collective objective of everyone building on Bitcoin is the same. So that to furthering the case for BTC, the asset, and Bitcoin, the network. So, like you said, Ayush, like, coming on the same point, it's a question of when and not if, when this thing
Yeah.
pops.
Have you like experienced this as well, Ayush, that in the BTC ecosystem that we're operating in, that people are actually very collaborative, right? Like it's really like sort of everybody's like helping and trying to figure out ways to further everything as a whole. So which is quite nice. I found it's
Yeah. So like this is
good
something that
environment.
I was like because of my like past like I've worked some time in Web 2 also, but this was like a whole culture shift. Like this is a like a good thing about the whole Web 3 ecosystem. Like everyone is super supportive, and as like Bitcoin is a really new space, so if someone, even if they are your competitor, you and they work together on multiple different researches so that you can create a product that's good for the users. It's like a very good culture that I found, and like it's like pretty great. And like I think this is with like the all BTC projects, because if you see the BitVM guys, the every single project that I know has contributed or is contributing or is working somewhere close to them. So it's not just like one guy is leading the charge, but there's a collective vision and everyone is putting their resources in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the ecosystem to build in. Yeah, people might have some contractor opinion there, but it's definitely the asset to build for more than anything. Arguably, it's the only asset that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, Awesome.
Yeah.
We can come to some of the things that we had on topic to discuss, which is talk a bit about what LayerEdge is doing, what kind of tech you are focused on, because a lot of the things are, while might be exciting, it's not something that easily gets understood by the common user or investor or even the VC, right? So maybe I used to talk about that. Can you just describe what the vision behind the term, which I think is a very beautifully crafted term, which is Bitcoin backed internet? Can you talk a bit about that, and in that context, in a very plain and simple manner?
So, like our vision is like pretty simple. Uh, it's just like we want to create a Bitcoin back internet, and when we say Bitcoin back internet, it's like there has to be like network which is completely secured on the financial side by the Bitcoin, because we all believe in the Bitcoin asset a lot. So, like if you see with the whole Bitcoin back internet narrative, so there are two guys who are working like in two different spaces. So, if you see on the POS side, Babylon is doing wonders, because what it brought to the space is now everyone can actually get POS security from the Bitcoin as an asset and get themselves secured on like with the help of Bitcoin like BTCs. And on the other side, like what LayerEdge is doing is similar thing for the CDK or all the ZK based chains. So what we are doing is, you if you have like any kind of ZK proofs, so we support like all the ZK chains, multiple chains which have their own consensus and want like ZK based security, and a lot of co-processors like who believe in like off-chain computation and on-chain verifications. So what we can do is we can take ZK proofs from them. And earlier, if you see, if you go like pre BitVM era, so nothing could have happened. Like we just have the proofs and we can't do anything. But right now, what we can do is we can aggregate the proof into an aggregated proof, and then aggregated proof is verified natively on the Bitcoin. What that actually does is, if the aggregated proof is verified in a correct way, that represents that every single proof that was at the leaf level, which was took part in creating the aggregated proof, is also valid. So just by validating one proof, we can actually validate like 50 to 100 different proofs and validate state of multiple different chains. And what that brings is if you do native verification on the Bitcoin, a single verification costs somewhere from $600 to $1,000, which is quite expensive for a single project to do this with every single block. But with us, we can bring the cost down by like 95%. Like we can, right now we are doing 90%, but we can do it like 95% and more. So what we can now do is bring this cost say of $1,000 to close to $10 to $15, and now it's like economically viable for multiple different chains to leverage Bitcoin security, because everyone wants a really secure system, but if it's economically viable. So we bring that viability part of the whole like security infrastructure on the Bitcoin side. So with the help of like of two different like we are partnered with Babylon also. So with the help of us, we can cover all the ZK chains and all the POS chains and provide them with like security of Bitcoin. And that's the like the core crux of like Bitcoin backed internet. It's like every ecosystem partner on the Bitcoin side will actually be secured on the Bitcoin. And let me tell you one fun fact about it. Initially we developed the whole product for the Bitcoin space, but if you see right now our clients and the guys who have signed LOIs and are integrating with us, more than 50% are not exactly the Bitcoin guys like who are heavy on the Bitcoin. So multiple of them are like working in the DA space, are in the AI, they are in the TPIN, or they are in RWS space. And what they need is verifiability on the Bitcoin. And that's the thing we are providing them. So it was an like unintended discovery that we found a huge market that was looking for something like us, and we became like a correct fit for them.
That's beautiful, man. That's the niche you want to be in as well, right? Wherein there is clear demand, whether that be infra, whether that be a retail focused product. That sounds perfect. So one thing that
And why did
yeah, but please go ahead.
sorry to jump in. I just wanted to ask, like, why do you think they wanted this from Bitcoin? Like it's interesting that that's what they were looking for, right?
Yeah. So, like what happened is like multiple different chains. Like, so there is something called long range attack vectors. So if you see like most of the recent DAs or the AI based chains, so they generally use like a consensus where is very akin to POS with their own twist, because they will have different sort of verifications. But a holistic approach is close to a POS approach. And in the POS, there is a long range attack vector risk. Means if the validator sets are quite centralized or a limited pool of people are running the validators, someone can go back like way behind, say 3 months or 6 months behind, and start creating multiple different blocks and create a parallel chain. And if they have enough like stakes and support from the validator side, they can actually nullify the original chain and make sure this fork chain is the main chain. So to prevent against such kind of long range attack vectors, most of them are creating the zk proofs of their chain after a snapshot, say 30 seconds, 30 blocks, 40 blocks. They have confirmation times, and after that they create the zk proofs, and then those zk proofs are verified both on ethereum and the bitcoin, because these are like the two of the biggest chains and the chains you can actually reliably trust. So that prevents them from this kind of like long range attack, and gives a really good boost to their own security. That's why they are pretty interested in like working with us on the bitcoin side. And there's a project called aligned layer which is working on the ethereum side.
Pretty interesting, man. I couldn't help but notice you mentioned this word economic security a lot, and because when we were focusing a lot on the Cosmos side, that was actually a big part of the debate for should liquid staking exist or not, because it potentially dampens the economic security of a chain. Because you can look at it as multiple things, right? It can either be how much the total market cap of your token staked is, or it can also be how much capital is required to, let's say, bring your chain down. If I were to just, in the context of a POS proper chain, right, how much capital I need to just acquire whatever percentage of the stake is required to essentially censor or even, block transactions. Or you could also say it's the cost of social engineering, wherein I make a cabal to just bring your chain down. So in all this context, it you can't help but think that it's kind of about security, but there's also a lot about alignment. It's more about economic alignment to a certain degree, which is great for Bitcoin, because if you were to be aligned with an asset, why not BTC? But at the same time, my question to coming where I was is, do you think that, like, the tech aside, the product aside, do you think that economic security, the term, is it a meme, or like is it something that's too overused?
I can say that like economic security is like relatively overused, because like logically if you see, everyone is working with the game theory assumptions. Like everyone will act on the best interest of themselves, and there were like if you have that assumption, like that as a base assumption, everything will go down to like the economic security, because we are not working with like POW systems. Like if you see on the POW side, there is Bitcoin, there is Doge, there are like very few players, but majority are working on the POS. And in the POS, like you make sure that everyone acts in a good faith by like but rewarding if they act in a correct way, and punishing if they act in a like a nefarious way. And if you want to have that as like the base code consensus, then economic security is the natural outcome, because the whole pos ecosystem is based on the like economic security. And right now if you see, like it's being overused, because uh like there was a genuine problem is when you want to kickstart a new chain, it was nearly impossible to get diversified validators which are ready to stake good amount of capital. So stake capital was an issue, and diversified validators was an issue. And this problem was resolved on the Bitcoin by Babylon, and on the Ethereum by like uh, Eigenlayer. So because of the meta of these two, like economic security came to be like the term which is like the go-to term of the whole crypto Twitter. That's what I believe. What's your
There
point
was
on?
this, that's all we argued, right? In the bear of last year, like 23, 22. That's all the argument was. How much economic security, restaking, and it's actually funny enough to see that while these protocols, like for example, Eigenlayer, right? Restaking was the narrative for crypto. It's how crypto is going to move ahead, is restaking. Obviously, like I said at the start of the stream as well, it doesn't take too long for narratives to switch, but it's still great to see that they're still finding that niche there. Aguilar is focusing more on AI-driven applications now, but I think that will never go out of fashion. The need for capital, verifying a lot of things, and that verification being accessible by a common user to see if it's actually verified or not. That matters the most, right? So that's great. Do you mind, just touch upon a few things or explain, these two terms to maybe some users, including myself, because I'm not someone that goes into ZK a lot, or a lot of these things. So when you say ZK, as simply as possible, what does it mean?
Got it. So like CK is like if I want to explain it in a very easy way, without know that you have a box, and without knowing what's inside the box, you can tell that nothing has been added or subtracted in it. So what how you'll do is you weigh the box before, and you, let's say, do something inside the box, and after that you just weigh the box again, and more or less if nothing has gone out or come in, the weight should remain the same. Like, it's a very crude example, but what ZK does is, using the mathematical functions, you can verify without knowing the actual data that the the basically the transition happened as per certain rules that you have given. So if any of the rules have been broken, then you can actually like verify that the rules have been broken. But if you have a certain constrained amount of rules, those rules were actually followed without knowing exactly what's inside each and every block. So how this is like very useful for everyone is, using the ZK proofs, you can have state 1, and then you can move to state 2, and you can have certain rules for it, and without knowing what's inside the blocks, you can ensure that everyone follows those rules. So as we talked, in the POS system, everyone has to do good things because they were financially rewarded or punished for that. In the ZK, that financial mechanism has been replaced by maths, because now there will be mathematical proofs of both states, and if you don't follow the rules, your state will be flawed, and then it can be easily found out by a validator, and then you eventually you'll be penalized, or your block won't be accepted. Now this is the technology is pretty great, and what I believe is, say, 5 or 10 years down the line, this is going to be like the go to technology, because we have seen whenever you start a chain, you need huge amount of capital to secure it. But with ZK chains, you do not need any amount of capital, because they're actually secured by maths. And if you see the traditional financial ecosystem, because it has built with thousands of years, the banks, like how the transaction work, they are not secured by asset more than the actual value of the banks. And in the similar way, in the traditional world, everything is secured by the rule of government, but you can actually replace by maths, and you do not need huge amount of capital just for the security part of it. Now the problem where it lies is right now the proof generation and the proof verification both are very costly process. So we are working majorly on the proof verification process to trying to make it cheap. And there are players like Pharma and ResZero which are working on proof generation part, and they are also trying to get the like proof generation cost cheaper. And with the time, like we believe like the costs are going to come down, and once we hit a certain threshold, then running a ZK chain will be way more cheaper and safer compared to running any other POS chains. So there will be like few big chains and a lot of like micro or mini chains which are anchored to them. And we believe like that's going to be the future. And that's why we have developed like something which we call like randomized proof verification, which is actually going to make the verification process even cheaper. So like I can
Yeah.
explain you in a bit, and this is a thing which I am like recommending everyone to just use or try once and have a feel of it. So we told you like we create a whole aggregated Merkle tree to make sure like that every single proof is verified on the main Bitcoin chain. But what if every single user, if they want, they can run a simple light node, and they can be run on just single like a iPhone or any other small device. And what it can do is verify a single proof. So if a tree has say 100 proofs, you verify one proof, there's some other guy who's verified some other proofs, and if they are good amount of people, say 1,000 people or 10,000 people actually verifying, like right now if you see the network, they have more than 35,000 people. So if everyone is verifying just one proof, it's not taking a lot of computation from you, because it's very computationally light. But if you see as a collective, every proof is verified multiple different times. And what that can ensure is a whole network security, where the guys who are actually securing the network are just the light nodes, and the whole process of verification is very light. Like we have full nodes right now, and they will be working perfect. But what we want to do eventually is a whole light node model, so that the verification costs can be brought down even further. Because what we believe is, once we are able to involve everyone in this whole Bitcoin backed revolution, and bring the cost down, then there will be like a new renaissance in the whole, like, guys who are using zk chains on the bitcoin, and bitcoin can be the pioneer in the, like, the revolution of the zk.
Yeah, that's definitely something a lot of eyeballs are on, right? The scaling that happens to zk, it's a tech that's proven itself, but like you said, it needs that adoption, and it goes on a lot along the lines of this kind of narrative of trust minimization, or not giving away trust or not giving away custody, because that's something very important to BTC, right? Maybe Bart, you want to talk a bit about how that plays on from an institutional level, because pSTAKE, we're also focusing a lot on Bitcoin staking, but for institutions, and what matters them
Yeah.
to a lot ultimately is custody.
Yeah.
For sure, it's definitely something that we've encountered. Like, I mean, we basically give institutions like the option, right? We can have like custody from their assets if they want to through a custodian. Actually, we wouldn't do it ourselves, but we use like professional company for that. But majorly they actually want to keep self custody of their assets. Like they want to sort of use them, but they don't have that experience. I think because a lot of these large institutions don't have sort of that exposure to DeFi or that experience like in this industry. So then they turn to us, and we basically help them to stake these assets. We create like the transactions for that. Like we make sure that's all done right, and we manage the rewards. We help them to sort of deploy the LST. So there's a whole process behind it, but the crux of it is definitely that they are not going to send their assets away. Like it's really it's one thing to lose certain coins, but you don't want to lose someone's Bitcoin. Like it's very sort of like the value is obviously the highest in the industry, and it's really like an asset that predominantly has been staying in wallets. Like people were just having it as a store of value, and now that it's starting to get this utility, it's I think it's a process. Like but for now, it's definitely shown that they having sort of that custody is important. So we facilitate it, obviously, to just jump on that and help them do what they want to do while they keep, that ownership.
Yeah, and I think
It's like,
ultimately that's where these two both worlds would also meet, right? Wherein, for an institution, maybe 5 6 years down the line, ZK is what actually enables them to have that self custody in a trustless manner, not even trust minimized, fully trustless manner to some extent.
yeah,
Yeah, because like, as you see, like, most of the, like, bitcoin guys, they're working on one of and trusted pins. So if the institution runs one of the validated nodes, then their capital is actually secured, like in the current system only.
right.
But yeah,
It's
like,
like how a lot of theories in physics work, right? It's a lot of assumptions, but if you just take one out of the puzzle, it's done. So
yes,
I think that's the future what ZK might, bring us, wherein you don't need that. Just
true.
trustlessly trust something.
Yeah.
Good phrase to say. Awesome. You mentioned BitVM, so I'll ask the same context of ZK, but for BitVM. Kind of trying to explain that as simply as possible.
Yeah, so like Bitvium is like one of the, like, what I say can say is the one of the fundamental pillars on which the whole BTCfi ecosystem is being built. So what actually happens is, Bitcoin has Bitcoin scripts. So these are not Turing complete. What that means is basic languages. You cannot do all the mathematical functions that you want. You have a certain limit what you can actually do. So what you can do on the Bitcoin side is, you can create a proposer. It's like an optimistic resolution, and the proposer can propose a new state. And if the challenger feels that the change is the new state is actually not valid, it can create a challenge that I challenge that this state is not valid. It's an invalid state. And then there is a challenge period where the proposal will like prove one step at a time, and the challenger will challenge it, and it will happen till one of the guys gives up. And the guys who, like, who's still standing in the place, his state is actually the final state. So what this actually brings is, using like the primitive computations, you can actually see if the states are valid or not, because they work on little, what you can say, in simple language, you can break down things into like small mathematical functions, and you can solve that on the bitcoin scripts. It's not exactly like that, but what you can verify on the main bitcoin chain is like the basic conditions, like one after the another. So to that you can actually make sure that the final state is actually valid. Now the challenge is like this whole challenge period can be as small as 7 days, but can be as large as 3 months. So that depends on what kind of decentralization you want. So if you are ready for some big validators to make final decisions, you can make it faster, let's say 3 to 7 days. And if you want it to be like ultimately decentralized and everyone in the audience can participate, it will take close to like 3 months. Now the beautiful part of it is if you are a guy which has huge amount of capital and that's say locked in a bridge, then you can be the one of the challenges of the bridge and can secure your own capital, because this all network works on a one of interest assumption, whereas if one of the validator is honest, the whole network remains stable. And as if you are a guy who has huge amount of capital, then you will be honest towards your own capital, and in a way you can make sure that the whole network is like really good functioning and stable. So the only question is, what's the decentralization aspect that's like taken by multiple different projects? So if you see, the difference is like multiple different families of BitVM, because there are now multiple different takes on the BitVM. So the major difference is in this decentralization aspect is, so some of the guys believe in very much in decentralization. So with them, the challenge period is as long as 3 months. Like a lot of the people in community say it's useless because no one will actually wait 3 months for like taking their money out. So a lot of people have created a solution that will work for 7 days. So that perfectly works. But in that scenario, the validators, the guys who are proposers or challengers, need to have like beefed up systems. So it's a trade-off of like how the like industry is working. But yeah, with the advent of time, once we have the OP-cat and multiple different opcodes enabled, then this issue can be minimized a lot. And that can actually bring a lot of like mid-sized players and smaller players who can run their own nodes and make sure that their own capital is secured. Because what I believe, the best thing that BitVM did was, if I am a person with huge amount of capital and I'm thinking my capital is at risk, I am incentivized to run a node, and with one honest node I can ensure that my capital is secured and the whole network is secured. So this is the beauty of BitVM.
Yeah, that's is actually something very interesting and exciting. Not just
Yeah.
from a tech or infra perspective, but from an end user perspective as well, right?
Hmm. Are you certain, Ayush, that OP-cat will be introduced actually? Like, is that a certainty?
Like on the OP-cat, like personally I'm really bullish on it, and the guys I know, they are very much into it. But I have met certain so it's a like what I've seen is it's a difference in like east versus west. So most of the
Hmm.
guys I met in say Hong Kong, like because I've been there, Hong Kong, Vietnam, Singapore, Chinese, they are like very pro OP-cat because they see like what a lot of things can be built. Whereas many VCs that I met in states, they are pretty apprehensive because they believe the original Bitcoin was
Yeah.
meant for just transactions, and they
Hmm.
are pretty much against it.
With a
But
conservative approach, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know if it's so certain that it's going to be introduced. There could be like, that
yeah,
it's a
I,
fork or
I
whatever. Like,
totally
it's,
agree.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's see how that evolves.
Yep. Awesome. Like this is super super interesting. Like we're all up on the R as well. But I used to get to know what's coming for LayerEdge. You have the testnet launch, a very successful one as well. What's next? Maybe some alpha for us.
Yeah, so like everyone who is listening, I would ask them, you can go and run the dashboard. You can understand like how we are like creating the whole like incentivized campaign with just the light nodes, and in the future how the only the light nodes can actually ensure the network security. And like in Feb, like in just first day of Feb, you will have the whole light node campaign active, because for the first week we are doing hand holding. You don't have to do anything on your own. We will like take you to the whole tour. We will run the nodes, like basically light nodes on our server. Will like make it like very cheap for you, like you don't have to pay us anything. You can just learn and understand how actually things work. And after a week if you want, you can actually run light nodes on your own devices. So just test it out, have a feel of it, and if you like, you can run your own light nodes and be like part of the whole Bitcoin back internet.
Okay.
Because the beauty of thing that I've like seen with the guys who have tested initially is when they verify, let's say, proof of a whale or the proof of say union or a company like that, then they feel that they are part of something bigger. They are actually securing a whole different chain on the main Bitcoin chain. So it's like a good feeling with them, and then they are way more inclined to understand, okay, how the whole aggregation works. Okay, because there's a very good question. So how can you say if the aggregated proof is valid, then everything is valid? So there is a whole maths behind it. So then they are more interested in understanding how actually the things work. So my aim is like just to get people interested in like what we are building, and then we can take it forward.
Right. That's true. Like if people don't know about it, like you need this distribution, right? You need people to sort of use it and like get familiar with it, and then you can kind of start adding on top of it. But if people don't know about you, then it's going to be very hard, right? So
Yeah,
it's
true.
great that we've learned something here today. It's been very interesting. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, but the same thing for you. You know, what's next for pSTAKE? We have the YBTC launch. We have around $35
Yeah.
million of institutional capital with self custody staked into pSTAKE. What's coming next? What's the alpha?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess we'll keep working on our sort of the user experience, like working on the security. We want to keep things simple and secure. And then we'll have a bunch of integrations actually in the next few weeks, which is predominantly for institutions, but you know, still interesting because that's of course one part of a large part of what we're doing. So we want to make sure that we show other potential clients like how this works and maybe get some more on board. I think we'll keep diving deeper into the Babylon ecosystems, really like get that alignment with them or keep it at least. That's very important. And then for pSTAKE itself, you know, like we've added some utility for the token. We've created sort of some more kind of avenues to interact with the community and sort of get feedback. And you know, we want to double down on this as well. So that's it should be interesting. Like we have a nice year ahead, and you know, we're excited for what's coming.
Yeah, definitely a nice year ahead at the back of, I think, a very strong end of the year as well. Like pSTAKE got on Binance Alpha as
Yeah.
the first BTCfi token or project to go there. And I think, you know, once we see a
That's
lot more
amazing.
launches happen in the ecosystem, Bitcoin ecosystem, you know, it's inevitable where liquidity is going to flow.
Yeah, correct.
True.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ayush, for joining us today. How we like to end these sessions is, you know, just with trying to make it a bit fun and, you know, non-serious is, you know, how normal talk shows work where they ask just rapid fire questions. So we're
Okay.
going to do the same with you. We've done it with Bart in the past, and we just do it with all our guests now. So there are a few questions I think that we have, and these are somewhat crypto, somewhat not crypto as well. So the first thing is, do you think crypto events are broken or overrated?
What crypto events are?
Crypto events are broken or, like, you know, way too overrated?
I can say a little bit yes. Inclining on the
Yes.
yes.
Yeah. Nice. What's your favorite city in the world?
Favorite city? I like Dubai a lot
Dubai a lot.
because I've like
Yeah.
spent a lot of time there.
Yeah. Oh, nice. I think besides the 4 months of the summer, I think Dubai is a great
Yes,
city.
but
Yeah.
that time like I'm in India majorly, so it's
Yeah.
like pretty fun.
That's true. Yeah. If you do play a lot, what are some sports you enjoy?
I like lawn tennis and I like chess a lot.
Oh, nice. Have you made the transition from tennis to paddle, or you just sticking to tennis?
Right now I think I'm sticking to tennis only,
Because
but
Bart here
very
and Bart and
honestly,
I,
pretty much interested in chess side. Yeah.
nice, nice. Bart and I played paddle a lot.
Oh, I'll
I
love
think,
to join you guys.
yeah, probably next time in Dubai.
Yeah.
Uh, what's a book or podcast or a TV show recommendation? Like, what have you been hooked on lately?
Like on the book side, like I really like Zero to One. Like this,
Zero to One.
that's the book that like motivated me a lot and like opened my views on like how things actually work. Like it's a very short book, but it's like pretty deep.
Yeah, I think, you know, Peter Thiel has just poured everything into it, right?
Yeah.
Nice. And lastly, do you think Satoshi is still out there? And if yes, do you think he or she is active on crypto Twitter?
I think he's out there, but I do not think he'll be that active in the crypto Twitter, launching a meme coin. He'll
Yeah,
be like relaxing and like looking towards the future of what he intend to build.
yeah. So he's just
Because like
out there,
a guy like
chilled
that is
out,
out
and
there, he's building something new.
yeah,
Because you cannot stop guys like that. The only way to
interesting.
stop them is actually stop them.
Yeah. Uh, Awesome. And that's pretty much it. That's we're on the clock as well. I think we've
Thanks,
had a
Faisal.
wonderful session. Gotten to learn a lot about what LayerEdge is, what it does. The recent testnet launch, as well as gotten to learn something new for sure with in terms of the scaling side of things, whether that's ZK, BitVM. Thank you so much for giving all these examples and helping not just the audience but myself and Bart as well on such things, because it's important to know these things, right? When we're working in this industry and this ecosystem specifically. And Bart, thank you so much for your time as well. A lot to look forward to for pSTAKE. I know we're just getting started with
Yeah.
BTCfi, and I think it's a great year ahead to be building in Bitcoin for BTC.
Thanks. It was great being here.
Awesome.
Nice meeting you, Ayush. Thanks for all the interesting topics, man. Like, I liked it. It was good.
Thanks,
Great.
Martin. Thanks, Aita. Like it was like
Yeah.
a really fun conversation.
Great.
Thanks. Love to hear that.
Get
Hope
some
we get
rest. Get some rest, like after your 36 hours. Yeah.
all
Thanks for
right.
joining. Bye, guys.
Bye.